right, the xTool F2 Ultra UV, you just saw and you see it can do a lot. So this video is one of the most comprehensive videos I've ever done. So many projects here and even more elsewhere, really exploring all the questions folks asked, exploring all the different test applications, just really pushing this machine to all that it can do. And so there are timestamps throughout the video to jump around if you're looking for one section, but I will say there's lots of little nuggets hidden throughout, so lots of little surprises and bonuses. So here you have it, the F2 Ultra UV. Pretty awesome.
So starting off with glass. So this machine really is the king of glass, and some folks know, right? Lasers, UV lasers are just superior for glass. There's no need to do, marking spray, tempera paint, anything like that. You just put the blank, whatever the glass item is, and you engrave. Now, you can go deeper and deeper, multiple passes. There's a lot of settings that you can play around with, but it's just so easy to get up and going. So whether it's stemware, glassware, or like really ornate plaques like this, we'll show how you could even do interior engraving on this as well. It's just so many possibilities. And so from a small business perspective, if you want to just batch out a ton of, whiskey tumblers, glassware, all that kind of stuff, it makes it easy. You could also use the rotary attachment. This is the RA3 Pro. Even easier just to swap it in and out, whatever cylindrical object you want, whether it's the chuck or the roller. Again, you just throw it on there and you're up and running. There is also, with the software, a curved surface engraving where it can map out. That's another option, but I think the rotary really makes a lot of sense. We'll talk a little bit more about the rotary later in the video, but just showing all the possibilities with glass, like a full bottle of wine or any kind of, bottle, any glass bottle, even with liquid in. Obviously, you could do a logo, you could do a specific message, gifts for the holidays, corporate gifts. A lot of possibilities here. Really, really simple. It's actually the same settings for glass, whether there's liquid in there or not. You can also do sea glass. There's a lot of different embossing capabilities. xTool's promos even show, making little pendants out of it. Some folks asked about hand-blown glass. So here are some hand-blown glass ornaments. I ordered off Amazon. I am not a glass expert, so it looks hand-blown to me, pretty intricate, but using the rotary here, those little prongs there, they're just magnetic. Everything is just so easy to get set up. But here, was able to engrave pretty well. Pretty good results here on this one. But again, this is just yet another example. So I'll link this particular one down below if you're curious about, how hand-blown glass it is. But lots of glass potential and possibilities. I think ornaments are great. These type of blanks, we'll talk about this later. This is K9 crystal. It's a specific type of glass, really suited for interior engraving, but it's also great for just surface engraving like this. And so you could do these as pendants. They come in different shapes and sizes. But here you could get, some nice line art for a family ornament. You could do this as, awards and medals. But like I mentioned, there's even smaller ones where you could do intricate, pendants with jewelry. But yeah, some fun ornaments, pretty cool. But there's so much potential with glass, and that is a huge, one of the number one reasons to get a UV laser. You can play around with the settings and get two-tone here. So this PNG file is able to get different results, changing the speed and power. You can really get intricate results as well. But here, again, some of the different ones. I think this is just a great one, talking to realtors, mortgage company, just a subtle little engraving. You can maybe get some more business that way. But whether you're doing this for small business or not, the machine can handle it. We got coasters. There's that cool ornament yet again. There you can see that medal, that award, that plaque in the background. I mean, that's just surface engraving. That's so fast. You could do it on the front. You could do the inverse on the back. Lots of cool different blanks out there. So I am going to share some of my settings just because I spent a lot of time playing around getting the best results. And so getting a really great image like so, you can get that in glass. Here's the settings I use. So 900 dot duration, 100, 600 DPI, all that good stuff. Okay. This is the interior, the inner surface, not surface engraving, inner glass engraving. So it comes with a stand and it comes with a specific lens. You don't have to buy that. That's not a separate purchase. It comes with it. And so it's really easy to swap in and out. And this allows for you to engrave inside a specific type of glass called K9 crystal. And so now we can go ahead and engrave. So there's some more settings. I'll talk about this in the software at the end of the video. Actually, a lot more on the software, which is really cool, how to get these files, how easy it is. But you could do ornaments. You can do interior engraving in ornaments. You can do figures. We'll show some more in a second. But this was a cool image. I just put this image in, and in the software, it converted to a 2.5D instead of full 3D. Cool image. So you can do this with your own photos. You, of course, could use other STL files that you find for 3D printing or other applications. Okay, the crystal ball. There's going to be a lot more info on this process in future videos, but basically you have to have a specific engraving oil, paraffin oil in this case, to diffuse the glass, the laser beam. There's a little bit more. I'll talk about this in future videos, but it is possible. I was able to do this with quite a few. Really, really cool. It's that K9 crystal inside a sphere. So it is possible. Other engravings, right? This one right here is the Space Needle. Actually, AI Make, xTool's own software, was able to create that image in this specific file. Here we got, Hogwarts. Can't quite tell here. We'll show it a little bit better, better angle in a second. Here, we got some Totoro action. So lots of different 3D. You can add extra texture. There's a lot more nuance to these inner engravings. I'm going to have a whole video just dedicated to this process with even more settings, tips, applications. Still got to dial in my whole lineup and that jig setup for spheres, but it's possible. Here's a family photo. It's 2.5D. It's not quite 3D. It's just a photo, just in the xTool software, easy to render. Again, all kinds of possibilities. Obviously, these light stands really make everything pop a lot more, whether it's like just a subtle night light or, in memoriam or a family photo or just some really cool stuff, Balrog of Morgoth and, Gandalf the Grey. Yeah, or, landmarks. Obviously towers look really cool here. Lots of possibilities, and this is a big selling point for a lot of folks. This has really got people's attention. Pretty cool. But you get the idea. Pretty awesome, pretty amazing possibilities. All right, want to talk about cutting. In my preview video, I talked a little bit about the cutting. Here I'm cutting actually MDF using the 5-watt IR power, and now I'm cutting some basswood. Even with a double stick adhesive and with masking, was able to cut through it with no issue. There was no soot, no any kind of charring, no cleanup necessary. And so if you want to use this machine for cutting, you certainly can. I didn't do a ton of testing with cutting, but you can. I was able to paint it, make a quick little ornament. I do this in a ton of my videos. I have so many videos on cutting and the capabilities. We're not going to focus too much on cutting here, a little bit. Mostly I want to showcase the engraving, but cutting is possible. So here is just, an acacia cutting board. I was able to engrave the whole thing with the bed. You could use the conveyor to do a longer engraving. Here are some solid wood coasters, and the dot size of a UV laser is the smallest of all the lasers, which means you get the most intricate engravings, crazy detail and depth. So those were solid wood. Here's a poplar blank. I actually cut this on the xTool P3 CO2 laser, and I got amazing, just such detailed results. Here's a wood slice, a wood round. Again, great results. There is no charring. There's no burning. I don't have to sand at all. I don't have to mess around with borax to get it darker. It's just perfect. These are marble and wood coasters. I did a different setting for the marble. It can, with enough passes, carve into the marble itself. Here is again some of those acacia cutting boards. This is an image you're going to see a lot. It's just a fun little, you take a family photo and then you can convert it to a line drawing with the xTool software, but crazy results, great depth. This one, this darker wood, the image needed a little bit more work. So there's a little bit, there's a lot more I could have done for the image itself, but for a cutting board for a darker acacia wood, I think that's pretty good, not doctoring up the file too much. Here's the automatic conveyor. We'll show it a little bit more. This is the same one from the F2 Ultra. And you have an option of doing longer engravings. And so it'll just automatically kind of move its way on down. So you can do bigger things than just the bed itself, as long as at least longer. So if you wanted to do bigger cutting boards, you could go longer like this. It's just the width, you are limited to the engraving size. I won't, the exact specs on that engraving size, you just use the link down below to check the website. I don't want to speak out of turn just to get. Here's the F2 Ultra, the non-UV. You can tell by it's black, but it's the same idea. You can do these longer engravings with the F2 Ultra UV as well if you have the conveyor. And so that's a great feature. You can extend the bed, and you can do, you can do silly things like, longer engraving board, like so. But other possibilities to get that great feature of the really intricate small dot size with bigger pieces. So here, I mean, just so much detail. Crazy detail. And again, no soot, no burning, no sanding, no char, no flaking, just perfect. And so that's just going to save you so much time. So these are actually cedar ornaments that I cut on the P3, and then I just engraved here on the F2 Ultra. That's usually what I do. I like to engrave with the galvo machines like the UV, and this is definitely going to be my go-to engraving machine for all things not metal. We'll get into metal. It can still do metal, but look at the detail. Look at the detail. So wood engraving is just jaw-dropping. And so on these, just multiple passes. It's not creating smoke. I mean, if you mess with the settings, you can get some smoke, but it's not crazy like you'd get with other diode lasers or the other ones. But great results with wood. Amazing results. When the original xTool F1 Ultra came out, this embossing mode was possible. I did a lot of videos on embossing in wood and kind of playing around. Well, look at that time. Oh my gosh. Yes, it can go up to, 6 hours or so if you go really intricate with different details, different woods. I've done some embossing in under an hour, but if you're trying to remove a ton of material like in this African Paduke wood, right? It's going to take a little bit longer. Now, there's some woods that are better suited for the embossing, but what's great is because it's not really burning, how it's removing the material, it's not charring, and you're not getting like flame. So you get a lot more detail, a lot more intricate detail. Maple. Hard maple is the best wood for this. I've tested a lot of different ones. Yellow heart has been decent, some other woods, but some great results here. These two engravings together, I think together was about 3 hours, maybe less for the size of this. Obviously, the bigger you go, the longer it's going to take. The slower the power, the more material it's going to remove. This one is some figured maple in the back. I could have gotten a lot more depth and detail. I just wanted to go faster. I think that was like 5,000 speed. This original one was a block of cherry. And when you go really small, look how much detail. Well, that was 7,000 speed, but it's so small. Once you enlarge a piece, so you might do a test file, but as you get bigger and bigger in size, it's not going to go as deep. So fun project. It makes a mess. You're going to get, the dust everywhere. So have kind of a system figured out. But embossing is super cool. Leather. This machine is the best machine for leather. It just cuts through. This is real leather. This is some veg tan, good stuff. It engraves really well. I didn't mask. I didn't clean up the engraving at all. It works really well. Best results of any CO2 diode, any kind of laser I've used. By far, this is the best results, even better than, cutter heads. And so it cuts through leather like perfect. No charring whatsoever. Obviously, you can engrave leatherette, leather journals. There's a lot of PU leather and just a variety of ones that you can engrave. These two journals are actually ones from xTool where it's a brown to silver or a black to gold. If you play around with the settings, you can get all kinds of depth. So here with this lighthouse, I was able to get some of the silver, some of it, and just some really fun results. And so if you have some scrap leatherette, if you want to do leather patches, some great results. Again, some great detail. A full-on image, not just an SVG. You can do PNG, picture quality on these. So here are some, leatherette little keychains. Again, can keep doing a couple more passes to get better results. Again, you see this theme of, customization. If you're thinking about sales, hey, get a family photo and convert it to a line drawing and make a bunch, and then you could sell it, hey, I can make this whole line of products for you. So definitely great sales idea and custom, and, no shortage of possibilities. Leather coasters, leatherette. This is leatherette, so it's not burning dark. This one's a little bit lighter. Again, you can play around the settings, but just so much. The best part about the leather, I think, is the cutting and engraving the real stuff, right? So real leather. Obviously, leatherette, it can handle just fine if you're doing hat patches and all of those different layers. This is your machine. This is awesome. But for cutting leather, wow. Just incredible. So I want to play around with that a little bit more. If you have ideas on what I can do with leather, what you'd like to see with this machine, if you're a leather worker, drop some comments. Give me some ideas of how I can really showcase the leather capabilities of this machine with the F2 Ultra UV. Can also do denim, right? You can do other clothing because it's this cold processing. It's not burning through the material. So some of these materials I could never try with a CO2 or a diode. It just would be too hot and it would catch on fire and burn. And so just really slowly, it's ablating the material just to give a cool effect. Awesome. Awesome results. Yeah, it can do it. You saw this in that first video that I did showing the feather, right? It's not burning through, it's not catching fire. Again, it's this idea of cold processing. So sure, why not? You can engrave a feather because why wouldn't you want to engrave a feather? So lots of possibilities of other materials. I didn't get a chance for this video to show this, engraving chocolate. It could do that without melting. Just imagine things that would normally just not work for a laser. Well, this machine can do it. Like artisan soap, whether you buy some and you just want to engrave the soap, or you're a soap maker, an artisan maker, and you want to do some cool stuff. Candles, I'll show some candles in a bit as well. Settings you could play around with to get different effects. These are some cardstock boxes. I love these. These are great. They actually have like a foam insert for, jewelry or other things. But if you wanted to do challenge coins and you want to make your own boxes, you can engrave this really nice, really detailed effect. Other lasers, not as great results. Here's my settings. If you want more of the gold or the silver, you can just go back and pause that to get an idea of settings for a starting point. Macarons, why not? You can do food, right? It's not burning it. You could do this in all kinds of food. Here is that conveyor, the automatic conveyor, where it's automatically sensing with the camera the different size and engraving it. You can even do a setting where it will engrave a different thing on each one. You can load up different names. So like you're having an event and you can do a bunch of different names and it will do that for you on this auto conveyor. I did sanitize. I did clean the whole thing because, Thanksgiving. I want people to not get contaminated. Anyway, the automatic conveyor is awesome. And so since we're here, just want to show, again, this is used for both the F1 Ultra had one, the F2 Ultra, but this automatic conveyor works really well, and the tech has just gotten better and better. The camera, it senses if it's not a perfect alignment, it just doesn't engrave it. So you're not wasting a blank, especially if a material you're using is expensive. That's great. And so, oh, yeah, it didn't engrave those because the camera didn't quite pick it up or it was just underneath. You just throw it back in the mix and it just automatically it's going. So really intelligent, really smart, lots of applications for what you can do. And yeah, plastic. Gonna talk a lot about plastic engraving. First machine that can do this as far as lasers. UV laser, it's not melting the plastic. It's not releasing all these horrible, harmful chemicals. It is just really, really slow, and that cold processing. So even on clear, clear, all the different colors, it does great. Really fast, really fast. You saw those settings. I'll talk again, a couple of the settings that I used. There's some stock ones that actually are already here for this one that work really well. And yeah, I can do business cards, even the black business cards. It still can pick it up, no problem. It does fine with the camera. So lots of possibilities of what you can do with this machine. I've shown the conveyor in lots of applications in many videos, but some folks wanted to know, can it still do metal? Yeah, and it can actually go pretty quick. So here is just some jewelry. I believe this is stainless steel jewelry, and just a couple seconds to engrave these. If I want a deep dark engrave, I can go slower. Now, obviously, a machine like the F2 Ultra not in UV. The MOPA one, a fiber laser, that's best suited for metal because it's a different kind of laser. But you can still do anodized aluminum. You can do stainless steel. If you play with the settings and you do your test, you can get different colors. Well chosen, yeah, some fun stuff. Lots of metal engraving can still be done, and it's actually very fast. Now, this machine can go up to 15,000 millimeters a second. I was rarely going up in those numbers. Play around with it. Play around with the settings. I'll talk about how to do settings and a little bit more in the software at the end of the video. This is actually a new type of blank for challenge coins that I haven't really done before. As well as this one. I think this one's nickel. I wanted to experiment with some different ones. I did brass, and I was actually able to get a deep black brass. Something like this, look how quick you can do it in a few seconds. If you want a deep engraving or a dark color engraving, like this black on that brass coin back there, that's going to take you like an hour plus, right? It just depends, just because it's so slow to get that deep on the UV. Or on this stainless steel business card. Yeah, I did that. It was like 20 minutes for one card. So if you want to get the dark colors, it's possible. It's not really what this machine is intended for, but it's possible if you want to do that. So lots of other possibilities with metal. So back to the tumblers, the rotary. So this is the RA3 Pro. Yeah, no problem. It can engrave powder-coated tumblers. Does great results. Again, it's got that small dot size, so you can get some really intricate patterns, some really intricate designs. This RA3 Pro, it just makes things so much easier to swap out back and forth. You don't have to use a screwdriver. Here's a fun one. I did kind of like a collage of all kinds of characters that my son loves. That's kind of his superpower, is loving all his different characters. And so these are actually PNGs. It's not even the SVG. And look how it did. It did really well. Obviously, I could play around with the settings a little bit more. Might look better on a different color tumbler. But PNG files, I was getting great results. So typically just the straight SVG, a vector file, where it's just simple shapes, those work great. Those always look great, but you can do images. So here's how easy it is. You can pop those things in and out. You just twist it. It gets nice and tight. And then let's walk it on over. And then it's just magnets. And to switch over to the roller attachment like I did for the wine bottle or other things, it's really easy. RA3 Pro is great. You can pause and look at these settings just to give you an idea if once you get the machine, to give you a starting place, just give you a feel so you don't have to waste as much time. This is what I used. Those were my settings for all the images, and here's what I used for vector files. So hopefully that helps. Since we're still with the tumbler, and here's that the rollers, not the chuck. Yeah, it can engrave plastic, so, plastic bottle, why not? There's a lot of things that you can do. And so really this video, I wanted to showcase things that you couldn't have engraved before and what this machine can engrave that other, traditional lasers or diodes can't. So a candle, right? A pillar candle like this, I kind of played around with, two different type of settings. You can hardly even see it because it's going so slow. So you can get a really subtle engraving like that, very low power. I think this was like 20 power. Or you can go a little bit more. I didn't play around with it too much, but you're not getting melted wax everywhere because it's UV as opposed to diode or CO2. All right, let's really jump into the plastics. So there are so many things that you'd want to customize and engrave. You just couldn't because it would release harmful gases. It would melt, things. It would make things not functional. So tools, right? If you want to engrave on your tools, you don't have to use a knife. It goes straight in. You don't have to, and it's classy. And maybe you want to get a little Mandalorian action in there. I don't know. Want to have a little bit more fun with it. So yes, tools, household things, so many things that are plastic in our world. I don't love plastic. I really, wish I was mostly working with just wood, but there are some things that are plastic, right? And so it's functional and it's, we already got it. So let's engrave it and customize it. These aren't stickers. They're not going to come off, and it's great. So, some headphones, no problem, right? No cleanup. And it's, hook it up to the AP2 purifier. Any vapors or smells are just going to get sucked in there. Safe. But yeah, so showing both on the end, all kinds of plastic. There are some preset settings already in the xTool software, xTool Studio for plastic, but of course you can test it out. just showing some more tools. You know, obviously we got a lot of these different gadgets and gizmos. Thought I might as well and try it. Crocs. Well, Crocs are back in style. I am a fifth grade teacher, and I seen them the last 3 to 4 years. And so, you know what? You could engrave Crocs. These are fake Crocs, but the idea of sandals and rubber. Right? You could, hey, you could engrave rubber, other materials, silicone. So, Crocs, sure, why not? Have fun with it. You can even do the top here. So this is just a Walmart special, not the real official Crocs, but same idea. So you play around with that. Other things you could engrave that you couldn't previously for all the reasons. I'm a teacher, and so we have all kinds of different, school supplies. Okay, yeah, know a teacher in your life? They could really use a lot of these things that you could quickly do. Be pretty fun. Bathroom passes, all kinds of things. Those plastic keychains you saw earlier. Right now, I'm doing batch processing without the conveyor. So you don't have to buy the conveyor to do batch processing. Here's some pencil sharpeners, and it just frames out one picture, one of the things you're going to engrave, and then the camera will automatically apply it to all the other ones. And it's gotten so accurate. So that's free within the software. Great. I use that function a lot. Obviously, it works even better with the conveyor. But right here, I just did one, and then the camera is going to automatically do it because there's awesome camera action. But it's plastic, and we're engraving plastic without a problem. Okay, 3D prints. So here's a curved item. Well, in xTool Studio, Tool Studio, we can do curved surface engraving. And so it can measure it, and so that way it's going to rise and fall. You're going to get uniform engravings. If without that, it's going to dip. You're going to lose out on stuff. So if you do a lot of, PLA or other, all the filaments probably are going to work, really. And just go ahead and engrave it. So you can do custom engraving on the bottom of these things, for the name, for your brand. If you wanted to do a personal project, you could engrave in the different things. So got some great results. Most of the same settings I use for all the plastic worked the same for PLA and some other ones. Okay, this I think is the coolest idea ever, right? This is just a plate cover that you get at Home Depot. Here's my settings. It's that line drawing. Again, you getting the idea? Like, I think this is great. You could really package together a great deal. I think there's some great sales to be made there. Yeah, pickleball. Sure. I mean, why wouldn't you want to engrave a pickleball? Same idea here. I could do the curved surface engraving if I wanted to. I could put this in the rotary if I wanted to. I could do it bigger and go across the holes. I could do a brand. I could do a tournament. I could do golf balls, right? And so golf balls, easily engraved. Right here, you can see this kind of fixture. This is kind of a handy dandy little one where it's kind of like those old things that you would do, with your hand, or you put on your face with the pins and they rise and fall. But you can just go ahead and lock it in place and then pop it open. Everything comes back, right? And so that's nice for some uniform things. Of course, there's some other ways to do it like Play-Doh and sand, but that's a cool thing. xTool actually sells that. All right, this is a knife scale for woodworkers making knife handles, and it's got resin and it's got burl, meaning wood, and it has that resin. Now here's some results I got in just epoxy resin. So if it's just epoxy, I got great kind of uniform results no matter what I did. A lot of the burl, if it's got a mixture, it's a little different. Obviously, you saw that with the marble and the wood earlier. So here, what I needed to engrave the wood, I had to go more powerful. Well, if I go that same power over and it goes across the epoxy, it's going to burn it and make it look kind of funky. So yes, it will engrave epoxy. You just have to play around with the settings. Plastics. There's so much more things that this machine can now do that you couldn't do with other lasers. So that is another big feature on why UV laser might make sense for you and what UV lasers can do. And again, this is safe because it's got an enclosure, so it all gets sucked out, unlike other ones where it's open bed. Okay, here is some clear acrylic, and I'm engraving in the clear acrylic. I left the paper on the back. I went ahead and cut this out on the P3, that clear acrylic on the xTool P3. Made this little blank for a sign, and now I'm engraving and moving things over. In retrospect, I probably should have engraved it on the conveyor. Now I have a beautiful piece of figured walnut, and I'm using these standoffs. These are awesome, and I've started using these in a lot of different projects. So here I can just attach it to the wood, or you could go straight to a wall, right? Of course, but glass. I mean, think about finding a glass blank that would work for this, or the acrylic. I think that's awesome. Can really play around with that, but this was engraving in clear acrylic. Great results. Lots of other things, right? Just a couple more ideas, whether it's felt or, cloth, things like this, just a subtle engraving. It's not going to catch fire. So, whether it's marketing, packaging like this, of course, cardstock. These are like these little pillow box cases, a lot of things. Ceramic, right? I did do a couple ceramic projects. Here's a, red glazed ceramic plate. Was able to get great results in this one. I think that worked really, really well. I think it does depend on the glaze and different results. And then, of course, the ceramic tile. So painted white ceramic tiles, people have been doing that in the laser community for years. I never really got into it. And so these are just some ceramic tiles, but wow, what an amazing result from this machine because of that really small dot size. So the engravings are just so detailed, really, really impressive. And so I really loved what I was able to see with the ceramic tiles. So definitely want to play around with that more with porcelain, ceramic, some other things, just to kind of play around. Again, those PNGs still pop and do great. So I do want to jump into the software, and I'm actually going to go a little bit longer than normal. Obviously, there's timestamps you can skip on ahead, but I really want to show you some of the amazing features within the software and just what it can do. So we're not going to do like a full tutorial of everything, but just showing some of the features. Don't mind my mess with all my different test files. So one thing I do want to share is a lot of these images you saw, these really, really high quality, crisp pictures, I actually got from the AI Make within xTool. And so there's a lot of new features in here, right? So we can adjust. There's a lot more. There's a lot more they've added. These ones right here, these are their 3D ones for the inner glass engraving. But look at all of these new AI preset ones they have. And so pretty amazing. What I ended up doing was just going, adding an image and, let's do this one. And then, I just enter the prompt of, high detail, depth map, line drawing. You can see this one right here that you saw. Here's some other ones. Some work better than others, but here's the exact prompt. Actually, I just said convert to line drawing for wood engraving. That's all I said, and the AI Make software, it converted it to this perfectly. And that's the one that you saw over and over again. So if you want to try and replicate it, there's the exact prompt. But pretty awesome. xTool has their own Atom. It's kind of their new website. It's basically like AI Make, and they have a lot of files. So if you want to do the solar system inside, interior globe, that's where I got this file from. But you, of course, can create your own, which is crazy. So here is a lion that I engraved, that I created, and then just downloaded. So create high quality 3D full male lion roaring, and that's what I got. I want to create a high quality 3D rendering. This is where the Space Needle came from. So you can buy these files, or you can just use the software. Iron Giants. Here's the Totoro one. And so that's where I got this from. So the software itself, pretty awesome. Let's show you how easy it is. What's nice is they do include the necessary lens. So if I want to go to interior, you do swap this out. Really easy. It walks you through everything, how to replace it. Very simple. And then we are going to go ahead and do inner engraving settings. And it's really straightforward. You enter in your measurements. Great. And this is the preset one, super easy. I've actually just left it at 35 for almost every application. And then you can kind of see what's going on here. And so, all right, I just had the text joy in there. Well, I don't want that. I'm going to add in an image. Let's go. No, it's in downloads. My messy downloads. This is actually one from xTool. But the idea, is here, and so you just enter in an STL file. I've done some STL files I did purchase from 3D printing, but you can also do the ones like that lion you just saw, and it's pretty straightforward. You just click on unknown material, and you want K9 inner carved glass preset, good to go. Obviously we need to rotate this. Can do all that. Pretty simple, pretty easy. And so the software, lots of new features, but the AI Make and Atom is remarkable. It's gotten a lot better, a lot of really cool features. Now, as you see, all of these different things, a lot of these files that I used to engrave, anytime I'm doing like a new project, I want to, make it new with a lot of new files. The main website that I use, if you've been following a while, is Creative Fabrica, right? So here's that exact one. And so I can buy these preset files on Etsy. Oh, here's some STL files that I found. You can buy these files on Etsy, for $3-4. Well, this is a subscription. If you use the link down below, you can do 10 free downloads without paying anything. But I pay $4 a month personally, and I get unlimited downloads, and I do 100 plus downloads a month, and just anything I could possibly want, whether it's layered stuff to cut and do layered signs. You could certainly cut these projects. Something you could certainly cut using the F2 Ultra UV. Adding in fonts, really cool different fonts, easy to download and add in. There's just so much great features in here. So again, great savings for this, and I highly recommend it. Link down below. It is our affiliate link, so we get a little bit of a small contribution. So anyway, check it out, Creative Fabrica, and definitely explore the AI Make and Atom. Pretty cool, pretty amazing, and just the software in general is great. And so I really do love all the things. Right now there are not as many preset files. So if you go here, these are the ones without this orange. They haven't uploaded all this. It's a new machine. Eventually there's going to be a lot more, and so there's a lot of settings in here that gets you started. And hey, I want to do clear glass. You can see here, I'll throw this in because who knows, maybe you haven't seen one of my other videos. We're just going to add in an image. You click engrave, and then you just click start test grid. And if it's just a normal picture, I usually do power and speed. If it's just like an SVG, a scalable vector format graphic, and then I can kind of see which works best, like you saw. Or here, if it is images, this can get pretty involved, right? That's not a good example, but you can, mess around with images. Let's see where we go. Then we have dot duration, power, depth per inch. I think it's depth per inch. Anyway, detail per, I don't know. Anyway, dot duration is basically speed. Kind of think of it like speed. This is just how many dots, the power. That's probably not the best way of describing it, but you just mess around with it and see different. That's where I got those dramatic results in wood and other materials. All right, that's a little bit more detailed. If you have more questions specifically about the software, drop it in the comments, and hopefully we'll add it in more, but pretty awesome, pretty awesome.
So many fun projects. There were even more that I could not fit here on the workbench. I just made so much stuff, hundreds of items. And so I still have a lot more I'm going to showcase in future videos, but the idea here was showing what UV can do and just some of the advantages. And so there are a couple more tips and considerations that I definitely want to share with you here at the end, but just a quick little overview shot of some of the projects. UV is special. So there you have it, amazing machine. Now I got a couple more tips here, but before we're done, if this video added value, please consider subscribing. Usually I am doing, woodwork projects, or I'm doing tips and tricks tutorial videos, but when there's new machines, I do like to showcase all that it can do. Yes, the possibilities. And so lots of other videos on the other machines, comparisons, but lots of tips and tricks throughout. Also, as you can see here, when I test a machine, I want to show everything. And so more than any video I've ever done before with a lot, I spent well over $1,000 on all kinds of different blanks, a lot of different things. I will link down quite a few of them, where I purchased, but really to test out all the possibilities and share what settings I could where it made sense. But lots more content coming on this UV and of course the other machines and just seeing how they work together as well as other maker applications. All right, let's talk about it. So this machine is amazing. The xTool brand, right? Obviously, they did send this machine to me in exchange for making videos and affiliate commissions. So much R&D and safety, right? So there aren't machines like this on the market that have all the enclosures, have all the safety features, that have such an easy, intuitive software like you hopefully saw on that little brief tutorial. All the accessories, amazing, incredible. Now, comparable units, well, there isn't really a comparable unit with all that this one has. They sell for more, and so price point, a lot of folks were surprised at the price. Not just like an inflated price, but genuinely, really, really well priced for what this is. And now, obviously it's expensive. It's really expensive, and this is, sure, I mean, there's some hobbyists out there who could swing this, but if you're looking for return of investment, if you're looking for applications, well, if you're gonna do any kind of awards, plaques, glassware, there's no prep time. Done. Right there, pays for itself. As far as cutting, obviously it's a smaller machine, but you could still do some cutting. There's no soot, there's no cleanup. Cutting leather, no brainer. No machine have I seen does better. Other machines, other engraving, the detail, the smallest dot size, you can't get that with any other machine. So really intricate details. So it's a lot to consider. Definitely check out this link, this QR code or down below. It is our affiliate link. If you end up purchasing, we do get a small commission. It helps support my family, so I really do appreciate that. And all of you who put down a deposit, hopefully I honored your deposit by doing lots, and hopefully we'll do more as well, so I do appreciate that. But at least learning more about the machines and the specs, xTool often will have some comparisons up there to answer some more questions. But if you're planning on primarily engraving, and it's not metal. While it can do metal, if you're really wanting to do deep colors or deep fast or the deep embossing, that's really the F2 Ultra non-UV. It's a black one. That's got the MOPA power. That's what you want if you're gonna primarily do metal. But all these other things you can see, this is superior for glass, it's superior for leather. It's the only machine that works for plastics and 3D prints, some other cloths and materials, the cold processing, and then the wood engraving, the wood detail is just amazing. So hopefully that gave a little bit more overview on what this machine is and what it entails. I love it, all right? What else would you like to see? Drop in the comments. I have several other videos, obviously more in-depth videos on some of this glass stuff, especially the inner things. What would you like to see more of? What's a video you would hope to learn more about? Well, I really appreciate you watching. I really hope it added value and answered some questions. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support in all the ways, and take care. Until next time.